Okay,
Welcome
so
and good
let's start.
evening to everyone.
Mhm.
It gives me immense pleasure to welcome you all on the auspicious occasion of this evening. Thank you, sir, for joining with us for this section. My name is Mark and I am the host for today's evening. Today we have the expert talk by Lokesh Chugani, sir. We feel greatly honored to have sir with us on board for this evening. He is here to educate us about narrative tips and tricks for communication or interviews. Placement talks and last we unlock question and answer section with where you will all be able to clarify your doubts. If you have any questions during the presentation, don't interrupt in between. Just raise your hand. We'll bring them up later. We'll also have time for questions at the end. Now, without further delay, we'll turn the time over to Sir. Sir, the platform is all yours.
Sure. Thank you so much for that. Okay, so I'll start with my introduction first of all. So myself, Lokesh from IIT Indore. I have pursued B in information technology, and right now I'm working as a software developer at Amazon. And before that, I was working as an intern at Jasper Technologies. So, in my college life, I've mainly focused on computer subjects such as operating system, DBMS, CN, and OOPS concepts. And also, I've worked on few projects such as Mons, for which are mainly based on Monstack. And also, other than that, I've focused on competitive coding and DSA and solved many questions on Geek for Geeks and also on Lead Code. And also, a few questions and contests on CodeChef as well. I would say that why did I mention all these things to you? That because when your interviews would be there, then you might have to when you are presenting yourself in the interview, right? So you might have to mention your name and designation in the starting. Then you might have to mention your internship projects and also what computer subjects you have worked on, and also about what how much how much you have done the codings, right? So that they can get a good understanding that yes, this person is a full stack developer, not just he's focused on competitive coding. So the people who are right now in fourth year or third year should keep mentioning that in their introduction so that they can design, the employee can design your interview accordingly, right? So let's now move on to finally on the competitive and DSA part. That is what is competitive programming actually, right? So competitive programming is nothing but just a mental sport, I would say, where we just play a game just like a PUBG where we have hundred of players, we all play together, and once we get shoot, we are either into revive state or maybe we are out of the game, right? Just like that in competitive programming, we have questions, we have to solve them, and if we get into the wrong direction in any of the question, then we are um, getting a bad rank, right? So it's like that only. Usually in competitive coding, I would say the questions are mainly based on mathematical and logical questions, right? So you have to be prepared accordingly so as to solve it. And I would just recommend you guys that never worry about like how many questions you have solved, what rank you have got. Why? Because I've seen people who are just copying the questions from answers from Telegram or from their friends or from some other solutions, right? So you don't have to worry any time about what rank you are getting in that competitions. Okay. So now moving further, what is DSA, which is comparable to competitive programming, and we are always confused that what is more important and what time we should do what, right? So DSA is nothing just like a policy, I would say LIC policy, placement के साथ भी and placement के बाद भी. DSA is something which we should always keep in mind that it will help us in coding rounds as well as in interviews. So also to mention, you guys can interrupt me in between if you have any queries regarding any of the topic and you need to understand more on that. It should be a friendly conversation over here rather than just a instructor, right? So telling more about DSA. So DSA is something where we focus mainly on storing the data in a way that we can have a better complexity solutions and we can optimize our solutions. So it's totally that decisions we have to take in DSA is the only thing we need to understand in DSA part, that what data structure we should use so as to optimize our solution to make our performance better and solve the question accordingly, right? So this is the only thing which matters the most in DSA part. And now, as to compare that at what time you should go for competitive coding or at what time DSA, I'll cover it later on. But I would say that both have their own importance. So you should be clear with this thing that like which we should take up at what time. So now moving further with the language preferences, first of all, as I'm aware that the people in this meeting would be from first year as well and the second year as well. So they might would be wondering that which coding language should we take and which is preferable for us, right? So I think you can go with any language if you're doing coding. It doesn't matter. Even in the industry, when we go, sometimes we used to do the languages we are not even aware of. For example, in JustPay, I was working in Haskell. So it actually doesn't matter which language do you take, but I would say that in C++ and Java, we have a better options for resources as compared to Python in terms of DS especially. In competitive coding, I would say Python is more preferable. Why? Because they are having a better solution and easier way we can implement it and fastly we can submit our solution and get the better ranks. So in that perspective, Python is better. But in terms of resources, if you want over the internet, you can easily find for C++ and Java. And the community for C++ and Java both are really great. And one more advantage I would say is that usually the employees which are in the industry right now are taking interviews, right? So what they are more aware of is OOPS concepts, right? So they are mainly aware of C++ OOPS concepts and that are more in the market, and they can actually create more questions on that. So we just directly want that interviewers should have more questions to ask to us so that we can answer them easily, which we are aware of. So I would say that if you haven't chosen any language yet, you can just go with any language. But if you face any problem for the resources, you can go for C++ and Java as well. Okay. So now moving further for platforms which you should use for competitive and DSA and all these coding rounds. So there are many platforms already available there, such as CodeChef, LeetCode, Geeks for Geeks, HackerRank, HackerEarth, all these platforms. But all of them, they have their own importance at what time you should use that. I'll start with phase one first of all. That is, let's say if you are in first year or in second year, or maybe let's say you are delayed in starting your career, then you might be thinking that I'll start with C++, right? So the first phase, I would say you don't have to directly jump on any of the platforms. First, work on um, any of the YouTube course, take up any YouTube course and just follow it. I would recommend for Saurabh Shukla or Code with Harry. They are performing really well in giving the YouTube course, I would say. There you can start your journey for coding, I would say, first of all. There you can learn the basic questions like pattern matching and all these questions, right? So this would start your journey. And if you're already done with this part, then the next part would be that you can directly jump into HackerRank or HackerEarth platform. Why? Because these platforms have a good understanding and also the interact. It is very interactive, I would say. So when you start with that, they'll give a very easy questions to you, a beginner level question which you can solve easily and also gain some stars, which will increase your motivation for moving further. Once you have arrived to 4 to 5 stars, I would say that you can shift to the phase three. I would say phase three where we can go into code chef or maybe lead code and GFG. Lead code and GFG is mainly directed toward DSA and code chef is directed towards competitive coding. Okay. So you can start both of them, get comfortable with that environment, like how people are solving the question. It's not necessary that you need to solve uh, participate in the contest, but it is necessary that you should be aware of the platform and how people are using it. You should be aware of that. what is the problem, where is the problem written, where is the input, and how the output is given, and what are the constraints we have. So getting comfortable is the first point. Anyone have any question? Okay. So, phase three is regarding this getting comfortable with code step and GT lead code. Can you please mute your mic? Or if you have any question, then so, once you are totally comfortable with this environment, next phase would be to get into a contest and participate in the contest as well. And such as, for example, in Coursera, you would see there are some contests available every weekly or monthly. Also, they have some contests. There are two types of contests usually. One is the short contest, where it is for around 1 hour or 2 hours sometimes, or sometimes the long contests are the ones which goes for around 10 days. So the contest which goes for 10 days its own importance in a way that they actually help us to learn more concepts and absolve us, right? For example, let's say I'm not aware of tree, and I'm just aware that for the trees question, I'm aware that yes, this is the data structure and what is its importance, right? But I don't know how to solve these questions. So in those 10 days, you can totally focus on the solution. You can try it multiple times. Even if you don't are not able to solve it, you can ask someone else and solve it the questions. That is the importance of long contest. While if you focus on short contest, so it's especially when you want to increase your speed, want to optimize the solution very fastly and get onto the better ranks so that you can be ready for your coding rounds, which will be coming in the fourth year, right? So this is one of the phase where you'll be comfortable with coding contest. And also with that, once you are ready to be in this coding contest, I would say that in parallel, you should start any sheet, I would say, of data structures and algorithm, like say Striver SG sheet, which is of 180 questions, which you should mandatorily solve because all the questions roam around that particular sheet only. Or let's say Love Bubble 350 question sheet is also available on the internet, which you can prefer. Once you get into that sheet, what will happen is that you will be aware of all the possibilities of every data structure and their question based on that. So you will be more comfortable on like you have covered most of the questions. Now, if any question comes, new question comes, you can at least relate those questions with the questions you have already done, right? So this is the phase five, I would say, which you have to focus on. And if you are totally comfortable with all these questions and you are giving contest on code chef and lead code both, then you can finally move on to code forces as well. Code forces is a place where I would say people are giving contests from many years, not just the people who are in the fourth year, third year, or second year. There are people who are just giving the contest from many years, and you don't have to compare yourself with the rank actually, because they usually are able to solve the question in like minute or two, or and we are sometimes like so demotivated with that they are able to solve the question in just 3 4 minutes, and we are taking around half an hour for that. So that's totally fine for now because you are in a learning phase and you have to develop yourself. So don't compare yourself if you are onto code forces that what rank you are getting, and people are doing better than you and getting better ranks. Don't follow your friends, I would say, over there because they'll just be more like a comparison. You should always compare yourself to yourself only. Okay. So now moving further for prerequisites. Let's say if you want to start a competitive programming, just to ensure that if you have started the competitive programming, you should ensure that you are not missing any points. And if you are missing, you should surely complete it so that you don't get stuck into any of the pathway, right? So there are three key way points, I would say. First point I would like to mention is you should be able to solve the easy problems such as palindrome, even odd questions, uppercase, lowercase questions, Fibonacci, perfect number questions, sum of all digits. All these kinds of questions are supposed to be solved by you on pen and paper as well as on the platforms as well as, right. So both the things if you have done, then you are totally ready for the first point. Then the second point comes is time complexity and analysis. This is also very important point, I would say. If you're not aware of it, then you might face problem while solving the questions. And even if you solve the question, you might lag in later on terms. So I would say you should be prepared before you start the coding contest, right? So, what is time complexity, right? So, time complexity is about, let's say, you want to know that your solution, like how much time it will take to complete, or also space complexity is something, how much space is it needed to solve this solution. For example, let's say there are 100 students in the class, right? So, out of 100 students, one of my friend came and he gave the pen to one of the students out of all the 100 students. And then I was told that I have to find that pen from all these students. Let's say number of students is n, right? So I have numerous ways to find that pen. So let's say I choose the first way as I went to every student and asked them that do you have my pen, and also told them to ask every student in the class. So what this led to that the complexity increased and was to n square. Every student is asking every student. So it is n into n square. So this way we can think of that, yes, our complexity is increased. Another way I could have approached this problem would be that, let's say I just went to every student, I just asked by myself that, yes, my pen is there or not. That's all. So I solved this problem and then just uh, n times iteration, and I was able to solve this problem. Another way I could have that, let's say, I divided the whole class in half. Uh, let's say, first half, I asked the first half that, do you have the pen or not? They told me that we don't have the pen. So now I'm pretty sure that the pen would be in the second half only. And now again in the second half, I'll divide it into two. And again ask both the halves that, yes, do you have the pen or not? And in this way, I can keep dividing and get my solution. So this solution would take log of n at the worst case. So in this way, we can have our different ways of solution for a particular problem. So knowing that and understanding the importance of time complexity will surely help you out to get the optimized solution of any problem you are getting in the competitive coding. So this is the second point, which is very necessary before you start the coding contest. And then comes is the third point, understanding the data structures and their importance. That is also very necessary, I would say, which you should do before coding contest. For example, let's say array. So we should know that yes, array is a list of elements which can only keep same type of data types, right? Similarly, we have linked list. Linked list has its own importance. It's just like array, but the data, it is not in a continuous format. It is everywhere stored. Anywhere it can be stored, but they have a chain made, right? And we can just go either backward or forward with the help of doubly linked list. So the importance of it is when, let's say, we are using a playlist, right? We have a song playlist in which we just want to go either backward or forward. So in that case, we don't have need of array, right? We have used linked list. So in that way, we have understood that yes, the importance of every data structure has its own data structure importance, which we need to understand before using it, so that you are aware of when you are implementing it in your question, in your solution also. So any question till now? Okay. Assuming it that no question till now. So moving further for tips and tricks for competitive programming. So tips and tricks I would give is you should learn, practice, and also to revise it. As I have mentioned earlier, that you should mandatorily complete the 180 DSS sheet question, which is provided by Striver, named as Take You Forward. And you should not just go through that once. You should keep revising it whenever you get through any interview. That's what I used to do. Sorry, just a sec. So you should always keep revising what you have already done. And let's say once you have done first for the first time, you should write it out in your copy. And whenever the interview comes, it will just take hour or two to revise it whole. Also try to make the habit of reading all the time so that you are good at reading the question, coding question. And it is also preferable by companies. Why? Because usually in company we have the environment of reading the documentation because not all of us are a good speaker, right? We all can't explain very well. So what better solution we have provided is that we should be good at reading. Similarly, in the coding contest, we should be able to read the question at once or maybe twice. We should be able to understand the problem, right? So that is very necessary. So have a good habit of reading novels as well. So that will surely help you out. And next thing comes is that before coding into the contest, once you have got the understanding of the question, what next you should do that you should first of all write it out, the solution, and you should calculate the problem time complexity and space complexity. And then you should ensure it with the constraints that yes, is it working fine or not? If it is, then go for that solution. Either what people do that they just start implementing it at, and after half an hour they realize that yes, we are onto the wrong solution in the wrong direction, and just because of that, they lose many chances of getting into interviews. So I would prefer that don't get in hurry and just wait for a while. You'll surely get into the right solution and then move on to the writing the code. That would be always preferable. Then next thing is whenever you are in the learning phase, what happens is that let's say I'm sometimes aware of just tree that yes, this is the data structure. So doing the upsolve is very necessary. Try to solve the questions of tree and graph whenever like you feel that I'm not much aware of this, but at least I am aware of that. What is the right way to solve it? Okay. Next thing is you should be aware of complexities. You should never try to like over optimize any of the solution. You should just mainly focus on that the question is solved first of all. That is the most important thing for us. Don't try to over optimize any of the solution. Either this might create more problems to you. Okay. Next thing is let's say in your college, the company is running let's say something every year in your company, in your college, right? So keep a habit that you keep checking the interview experiences over Geeks for Geeks or maybe Medium.com. That for this company, what questions people are posting and what kind of questions are coming, and are we aligned to the same path or not? Are we solving same kinds of questions or not, right? And are we able to solve this question or not? This is the most important thing you need to be aligned on and to ensure time to time, right? Then next thing would be let's talk about the during the contest, like what you are should be aware of and what all things you need to keep in care. So never be in hurry, I would say, and check the time limits. Also check that how many submissions they are allowed to do. Sometimes in code forces, I would say that there is a way that if you keep submitting the solution, then your rank will go down. So that also you have to keep in mind. Next thing is you don't have to be in pressure with the clock timing that yes, the time is going on, so I have to be more in a hurry. Just be calm for your solution and believe in your solution. More important is right now to develop your skills and your understanding for the data structures and how to use them and when to use them and to which you have to choose at what time. That is most important thing right now, and that's what industry expects us from the people who are joining in the companies, right? Next thing is after the contest, that is also very necessary, right? So after the contest, do check the solution again that what you did, and also check the solution of the people who have done really well and how they are writing the code and how they are using the variable names and the way they are writing the code. That is very necessary to be seen. And also, you would see that on YouTube usually for every question of code chef or lead code or code courses, they have a YouTube video. So you can also watch that. Why I'm telling you to watch the video? Because eventually, finally, we have to give these solutions. We'll get this coding question in our interview, right? And we have to present them. So we'll have to have a good habit of presenting it that we can learn from watching these videos. So I would recommend that even when you are solving the DSL sheet or Striver, which I already mentioned, you should, if you are able to solve the question, then to just go and watch his video as well. Why? Because when you see his video, the way he explains and what all things we should mention in interview, he has already mentioned all these things. You will get a good habit of explaining it in a better way, so that it is explainable and your interview goes well then only, right? So it is very important part which sometimes good coders also forget, and they just try to focus on getting good ranks in the coding contest. So don't forget about watching videos even after you have solved the question, right? So that is very important. And also try to see the other solution as well. But don't try to see the solution of your friends, because that might create some more demotivation sometimes. Not all the times, but sometimes this might happen. Just be aware of that. And I would say before contest also, you have to be aware of like you don't have to be panic for like what's happening. You don't need to solve more and more questions at that time. Just try to revise at that time. So your solutions you have already done, you have written in your copy. What I used to do was that I just used to go through all the questions I have solved till now. In maybe lead code, I go there and I just go check the heading of the question, that yes, I've done this question, how I can do this. I just visualize that and move on to the next question. This way, revision totally makes you more confident. So this is the most important thing I would say you should prefer. And yeah, that's all I would say from my side for uh, tips and tricks. Now moving on for placement talks. If in case you are in third year or fourth year and you are want to know like what all things we need to keep in major, then I would say that placement is all about luck, first of all, and you should not think much. Even if you haven't started DSA yet, just start it, and also keep in mind that you have to work on computer subjects and also a project. These three things are most important if you are getting late. But if you have the time, you are in second year, third year, or you're already doing that, then you should also participate in the contest as well. But the mandatory and the primary thing which you need to achieve is DSA first of all, and computer subjects, and also one of the project is needed for sitting into any of the interview. I've seen many examples in my college as well who have a really good package and are in food and based company who started their journey even just 3 months back when their interview started. Right. So why this happened? Because it's not all about just getting a good rank and mentioning it in our resume. It's about how we are presenting ourselves, how we are giving how we are having our conversation with the interviewer, and how good are we at explaining things which they are asking for. It doesn't matter that we solve the whole question; they surely help us in that solution. They always direct us to the right solution. It's just that we should be able to understand what they are speaking and what we are trying to explain them as well. So these things matter the most, I would say. And next thing is resume building. That is also one of the most important point which you should keep in mind. You should keep checking your resume after, let's say, 2 or 3 weeks again and again, that is it good or not. And also don't use the already available platforms which are providing templates for this resumes, because we all are aware of that. Just like I'm an employee, I know that once I'll also take the interview, so I will be knowing that yes, this is taken from this one of the platform, right? So you don't have given good efforts on that, and it doesn't gives a good impression. What gives a good impression is that you should just use the Microsoft Word, and from there you should create your own resume in your own way and should refactor it as much you can. Refactoring is what one of the quality which an interviewer checks out, so that comes out in resume. And when you do the coding as well, that how good you are writing the code, and also the variable names you are taking in the right way or not, and you are writing the small code, or you are just using extra for loops and all these things or not. So every small things gives a really uh, big impression. So you have to be aware of that. Then next thing comes is for the introduction, you have to align your introduction in a way that because interviewer when comes for an interview, he's not at all prepared. He's just totally focused on that. Yes, these are the tasks I have to complete today to deliver, and I have to live for the job. We have like this is the thought process of an interviewer. So when he comes to an interview, he's totally blank. He decides based on our introduction that yes, these points he has covered on. So he's not totally aligned towards coding as well, and not totally aligned towards computer subjects as well. So he asks the moderate questions and based on what you have done. So you can totally align the interviewer based on your introduction, that what you know and what you want them to ask. So keep that in mind, that introduction is also a very important part while you are giving the placement, you are going through the placements. And do watch the videos that I already mentioned to you guys. And don't forget computer subjects. All the computer subjects are very necessary. It won't take much time. You can just give every computer subject at least 2 weeks and it will be done. It won't take much time. And I would say knowledge sharing is one knowledge. No, sorry. Uh, there is one YouTuber. I am not sure about that, but Knowledge Gate, I would say, I think is the name of that particular YouTube channel, where you can find for every computer subject that how it should be and how much you have to study. Also, once you have done for computer subjects with YouTube videos, then you can also go for Geeks for Geeks templates, which are available, which you can study out and also read out, which will also increase your uh, reading quality for the technological stuff. So I would say yes, this is very important to mention that computer subject also plays a very important part in placements. Then comes is that do a group study. My experience is that I was very late at that time, but I had a really good guidance. That's why I went into the right direction. The guidance was that to focus if you are late already and you feel like you are not able to solve the coding contest questions in code forces, you are able to solve two questions or three questions, right? So
Uh, Sir, are you there in the meet?
Just a minute, guys. Due to internet connectivity, sir had left. Within a minute, sir will join. Yeah, Jashvita, I think Sar is in lobby. Could you please check that?
Yeah, I'm trying to admit him, but it's not.
Hello, am I audible?
Yes, sir, you're audible. You can continue.
Hello.
Yes, sir, you're audible, sir.
Hello. Hello.
Yes, sir, you
Sorry.
are audible.
Yeah. Sorry for the interrupt. Uh, yeah. Okay. So I was telling about placement talks, right? So I was mentioning as group study is one of the most important point as I have a good experience on that. That we usually what used to do that we had a group of two or three and we used to solve few of the questions. Few of my friends solved few of the questions and I did some questions solved. And in night we used to discuss all those questions because understanding from a video or from seeing other solutions sometimes if you are stuck over there takes more time or sometimes you are going through computer subjects and understanding the concepts is very tough, right? So at that time, understanding from friends is very easier and it helps you out to boost your performance and get it very faster done. So please focus on that. Yes, that friends plays a very important role when you are focusing on your placements. And I think, yeah, that's all from my side. Also, I would like to mention that maintain your LinkedIn profile and keep sending requests to employees so that when any of the opportunity comes in the market, right? So it's just a mere amount of time that they are able to get the referrals. But if you have not followed them, then what happens is that you won't be able to ping them for the same, right? So you just have to be prepared for that already from the second, third year itself. And even if you are in fourth year, try to send the request and also be active on LinkedIn, just like you be on Instagram, right? Because uh, whenever a particular post is there for a particular job, only those people get a better chance who have applied first of all and also have got the referral because there's already lots of layoffs as well. And that's my experience is that uh, you can get a test link before if you have applied before. That's all I would say. So yeah, with that, I would like to end the discussion. If you have questions, you can surely ask in the Q&A session now.
Thank you, sir, for your valuable words and advice. We'll go ahead and take some time for questions now. Guys, if you have any questions, you can communicate to sir now.
Ganesh sir, are you there?
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Our faculty coordinator Ganesh Reddy sir also is there in this meeting. Sir, are you there?
Yeah, yeah. Sorry. Can you please repeat?
Yeah, okay. Yeah, fine, sir. I think governments they don't have any doubts. In case if they have any
Okay.
doubts, definitely we I will share your LinkedIn
Uh,
profile in our WhatsApp group. They will reach you personally, sir. Yeah, fine. I'm handed to Suma. I can wind up the session.
that's great. Thank you all.
I think we are good for now. Thank you, everyone, and thanks a lot, Mr. Lokesh, sir. It was a great pleasure having you here with us. We appreciate you for taking some time off from your busy schedule to educate us about all these fields. And with this, I would like to put an end to our expert talk. Thanks again, sir, for giving us today's speech, and we'll see you all in the next event.
Thank you so much for that. And best of luck to all of you guys. And I hope you'll all be placed at some good places or will be in a good startups as well. Thank you all.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Yeah, guys, officially expert has been completed. We can leave.